Greetings, y'all. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Brown Girls Are Beautiful. I am your hostess and your melanated queen. All right. I'm back on here. We are live and direct. And the reason we are on here right now is because I would like to go ahead and go over this whole Diddy debacle with Don Richard. I believe they call her Don Richard, however you want to pronounce it. Nonetheless, I want to go over this lawsuit. It's the United States District Court, and it was filed in the Southern District of New York, filed on September 10th, 2024, approximately 2 months ago, y'all. All right. Um, 2 months and some change. So this is actually naming Dawn Angelique Richard, or they call her Richard. I don't know how you pronounce that. But if you all remember, she is from the group Danity Kane. Let me see if I can share her image with you. This is what she looks like. Brown skin girl, thin. She's 41 years of age, born August 5th, 1983. She was in the Danity Kane group back in 2006. We all remember that group. It did break up. It did not last that long. They did have two CDs that came out back in the day. All right. Showstopper, showstopper. Y'all remember that? Aubrey O'Day, she left the group as well. But anyway, getting back to this lawsuit, we're gonna see what it is that she is alleging in her claim here, okay? So I'm going to make this bigger so we all can see it. So right here we have Sean Combs is named Harve Pierre. So excuse me because I was actually calling him Pierre Harvey. But if you know who he is being implicated in a lot of things that took place back in the day. We always saw him pictured here. So this is what he looks like. This is him. Now he was seen with Puff Daddy a lot, y'all. He's not innocent by any stretch of the imagination. Um, this is him dressed with, the red devil over there. You see him a lot. He was complicit in a lot of things that took place with Puffy back in the day, right? This is the guy right here. And he's on LinkedIn too. You can see him on LinkedIn. I guess that's her pictured with him. So this is the face when they bring up Harve Pierre. That's him. Just wanted people to see his face because right now the only person we see floating around is Puffy, Puffy, Puffy. It was more than Puffy that was doing this stuff, y'all. So we need to name every individual that was involved so they can be held responsible as well. That's how I really feel about this matter at hand. You know, it's more than just a few people that was involved. This was like basically the whole industry, okay? So I feel like at this point, people need to throw the entire industry away. The same thing I'm going to always say, stop idolizing and worshiping these people. But of course, people don't want to hear that. People just want to, be entertained by these people. They don't care because it didn't happen to them. That's how a lot of people feel. Oh, it wasn't me, so it doesn't matter. It didn't happen to me. But if it does happen to them, then I guess they would feel some type of way. People are really selfish in that way. And it's really sickening and sad, y'all. I don't understand the logic of people, but this is the world that we live in, especially here in America. America's very vain. I must say that. America is a very vain culture, very vain society, very superficial, non-caring, selfish, materialistic, all types of things. That's what goes on here in America. And that's why people are actually leaving because they're tired of it. I talk about getting a passport and getting up out of here for a reason because there's no point in being somewhere and you can't really be free, right? The craziness of it all. All right, so I'm trying to get into this for you. I'm just trying to check my volume to make sure I can be heard on here. And I don't know if there's a delay or what. Okay, so it does sound like I'm coming in clear. Let's go ahead and continue to read through this. So Sean Combs, Harvey Pierre, Remote Productions Incorporated, new remote productions. So what they're doing is they are making sure that any way that they have to get paid, they are holding every person, every company accountable so that there's some type of payout. The Nordlinger Group, November 15th, LLC, Daddy's House Recording Studio, Bad Boy Entertainment, LLC, because so many lawsuits are going on that once Sean pays out, he's probably not going to have that much more money left. So that's not going to leave much money for the victims, let alone the attorneys. And usually attorneys take about 1/3 of your settlement once it's paid out. And that's not even including the attorney fees. But if this person is sued, you have to recover your money from them. And then on top of it, you have to pursue them to get your money. And that includes the attorney fees. So who knows what's going to happen with this whole situation? It looks like Janice Combs Publishing Holdings Incorporated. So she has things in her name as well. All right. So I'm not going to read every single last one of these, but they have Universal Music Group, which is definitely indicative that they are not playing any games. Interscope, Geffen A&M Records, Diageo America Supply Incorporated. That's going to be the liquor that he was working with. Ciroc Distilling Company, doing business as Ciroc Canning Company, Combs Wines and Spirits LLC, Janice Combs Publishing Incorporated, Janice Combs Publishing Holdings Incorporated, Sony Songs, a division of Sony Music Publishing LLC, Love Records Incorporated, Epic Records, Doe Corporations 1 through 10, and Doe Defendants 11 through 20. All right. Those are all the defendants named in this lawsuit. So we have the plaintiff, Dawn Angelique Richard, by and through her attorneys, the Bloom Firm and IP Legal Studio LLC brings this action against defendants Miss Richard alleges upon knowledge concerning her own experience and upon information and belief as to all other matters. I never really looked into her lawsuit to see what she had going on because I'm trying to understand what happened to her. All right, so let's see what she's talking about here. Dawn Angelique Richard, known professionally as Dawn Richard, is an American musician, singer, songwriter, and performer. She gained widespread recognition as a member of the girl group Danity Kane, formed by defendant Sean Combs, and later transitioned into a key member of Dirty Money. I don't really think that group did too much. For real, for real. There were a few songs that I remember hearing back in the day that I downloaded back when Live Wire was still going on, LimeWire and kickasstorrents.com, y'all. But they shut those websites down because of the piracy situation. Defendant Sean Combs, a once celebrated hip hop mogul, popularly known by his stage names Puff Daddy, we already know the names he goes by, skyrocketed to fame in the late 90s and became a powerful and enduring figure in the music and entertainment industry. In 98, Mr. Combs explained the origins of his stage name in USA Today interview. So they're giving you the backstory so people can understand the nature of his temper. In a USA Today interview, his nickname was Puff because he had a temper and was known to huff and puff when he was angry. Over the decades following his rise to fame, Mr. Combs' star studded, larger than life persona overshadowed his vicious temper and pervasive acts of violence directed towards those in his inner circle, specifically women. Mr. Combs' namesake temper frequently manifested in physical violence. Mr. Combs regularly hurled objects in fits of rage, often throwing items such as mobile phones, laptops, food, and studio equipment across the room or at people. Remember in that, I want to kind of show the clip, but I don't want to keep clicking back and forth. But let me see if I can find it. Everything I want, I'm going to get, I must have. Hold on. Sean John temper tantrum. A lot of y'all have already seen this, but this is what they're talking about when they say he was throwing things. Let's see if we can find it. Uh-oh, I misspelled temper tantrum. Look, something else just came up. Old video resurfaces of Sean Diddy Combs telling child actors to put helicopter down boys' pants. Are you serious? Let me see what this is about. I'm just clicking. I'm just finding this out. I didn't even know about this. This is not even what I was looking for, y'all. There's so much evidence on here. How is that even funny, y'all? I mean, of course, that those weren't real people laughing. That was like the studio laugh track making it sound that way. But that's not even funny. All right, so let's see. Sean Diddy, temper tantrum in office. Everything I want, I'm going to get. What can you not do? I can do it. Mm. This guy is a psycho, y'all. Mm. Rockefeller, we get down, baby. We get down. Anyway, that's just one situation with Sean Diddy Combs. Now, we already know about the Cassie thing in the hotel, okay? Now, according to Miss Misha, one of Sean Diddy's victims, this footage in the hotel, directed at Cassie. I'm not even gonna listen to them. We're just gonna look at the video. This video footage that we saw of him and Cassie right here, what they're saying is that Cassie was trying to run off with a duffel bag full of money. All right. Now that wasn't being told, in her lawsuit. So I did hear something and talks of that she was trying to steal like a watch or something and take off. So we can see him running after her. We do see a duffel bag right here, though, right in here. There's a duffel bag. He picked her up like a rag doll. Yeah, we've seen that already. So I'm just pointing out some different scenarios that they're mentioning in this lawsuit. That's all. That's the whole reason for playing the clips, y'all. I'm pretty sure everybody has seen that. All right, so let's keep going. And I want to say this, even though we saw that with Cassie, that's nothing compared to the things that we've heard other victims talk about that they've been through. So let's not just focus on Cassie, because she was not the only one that endured situations. You know, people have actually lost their lives behind this individual. So we need to really put things into real perspective and real context here. They're not here to tell their story or talk about it. So we need to be mindful of that. All right. All right, let's continue. Over the decades following his rise to fame, Mr. Combs' star-studded, larger-than-life persona overshadowed his vicious temper and pervasive acts of violence directed towards those in his inner circle, specifically women. Mr. Combs' namesake temper frequently manifested in physical violence. So I read that. Now, they mentioned that he brutally beat Cassie. Okay. His persistent abuse included choking and strangling her, striking her with his hands and with objects, slapping her, punching her, throwing items at her, including a scalding hot pan. On many occasions, Miss Richard tried to intervene. Now, you know what I find very interesting is that Cassie came out to file her lawsuit. However, Adria English came out, and so did this woman named Misha. Jaguar Wright has been coming out speaking against him. Natanya Rubin, the woman that was shot, in her face by Puffy, has come out to speak. And I'm trying to understand, do they have lawsuits? Because Cassie has a lawsuit, and Cassie received millions of dollars. They settled the very next day. What makes her any different? Because this woman that got shot, she could have lost her life. Not saying that Cassie could not have lost her life, but I think because Cassie was more in the public eye, it got more attention directed towards her. And I'm going to say this as well. People are not talking about this, but I believe that race does play an issue here. These women that have been victimized by Puffy and his entire staff and crew and other, what you all call celebrities, these demonic Hollywood demons, all of them have basically taken advantage of these females. Yet these females have not had any lawsuits filed against Sean Puffy Combs or anybody else. Why is this the case? What makes Cassie so different? What makes her story worth more value than Natanya Rubin? Because Natanya Rubin was actually clinging on to her life, being shot in the nose. And we all know we need our nose to breathe. On many occasions, Miss Richard tried to intervene, offering Miss Ventura support and encouragement to leave Mr. Combs. Each time, Sean learned of her efforts to help Cassie, and he became enraged, threatening Don Richards' life with statements such as, "You want to die today? I make a ninja go missing and I end people." So, I mean, he's basically admitting what he does, his power. Compounding Mr. Combs' violent acts and death threats, he flagrantly exploited Miss Richards' musical talent as a singer and writer while withholding her rightful earnings, stealing her copyrighted works, and subjecting her to years of inhumane working conditions, which included groping, assault, and false imprisonment, among other violations. I hope they get more into detail about this groping, this assault, and false imprisonment, and what other violations. I hope they detail that. For nearly a decade, he manipulated her with mantras that submission to his depraved demands was necessary for career advancement, instilling in her the belief that such abuse and exploitation was required for female artists to succeed in the music industry. It was not until Cassie's bravery in coming forward that Miss Richard realized her own personal suffering was tied to the many years of abuse by Mr. Combs that had become normalized for her. Now, I know that when she came into Danity Kane, she was very young, but she was still an adult, y'all. She was in her 20s. So she was of age to know that this inhumane act of Sean Combs was something that she should not have been enduring. And I feel like she should have gotten out a lot sooner instead of staying around this type of environment. That's what I'm saying here. And I'm saying the same thing for Cassie as well, because unlike some of the other victims, Misha is claiming that when she went over there, she was in elementary school going into middle school. So right there is a big age gap and a big age difference. Cassie was an adult when she was over there. She went over there at a much older age. I think she got involved with him at the age of 19. So that is the difference. Misha was a minor, and I just feel that people are overlooking the melanated victims in this scenario. So race does play a factor in all of this madness. As more women courageously come forward, the plaintiff has been empowered by the collective strength and now adds her voice to the growing chorus of victims. Together, they seek justice and stand in solidarity as the latest victims of. I don't even like this term Me Too movement in the music industry because it has been used so much and so loosely that it kind of loses its luster. But anyway, let's continue to go on. So it says that she was a resident of California. And of course, she was employed by the defendant's Remote Productions Incorporated, Bad Boy Entertainment. So it's naming all of, the companies that she worked under from 2005 until 2012. So about 7 years. And then it says she was also a state of New York as well. All right. And she was an employer. And he was an employer. All right. So they're trying to establish the relationship of why all the companies are named in the lawsuit. They're also naming, like I said, Harve Pierre or Harvey Pierre, however you pronounce his name. And it says that upon information and belief resides within the state of New Jersey. So they're letting the court know how they could potentially find him at all times relevant. Herein, defendant Harve Pierre was the president of Bad Boy Entertainment and Bad Boy Records in New York. So he had a very powerful position in the company and met the definition of an employer. All right. So while she was there, then they have Defendants Remote Productions Incorporated (RPI) and New Remote Productions Incorporated (NRPI) are Delaware corporations and television production companies, which, upon information and belief, were created by Mr. Combs to produce Making the Band in New York and in California. At all relevant times, RPI and NRPI employed Miss Richard under all relevant statutes. So they're establishing again the relationship between these companies and how they were all working under these companies for the sake of the lawsuit. All right. Let's continue on. All right, it names him as a successor in interest to other bad boy defendants as alleged herein. All right, let's keep going, y'all. All right, and then it says they're naming. Oh yeah, we're privy to the information that UMG is located in the Netherlands. If you ever looked up UMG, it is in the Netherlands, and they own a lot of the music industry's music. They have an operational headquarters located in Santa Monica, California. Interscope, Geffen, A&M Records are subsidiaries of UMG. Interesting, I did not know that. With operational headquarters in California. At all relevant times, herein, UMG and subsidiaries, Interscope, Geffen, A&M Records financially benefited from condoned. This is a big word here, condoned and enabled defendant Combs' misconduct as defined under all relevant statutes. Okay, defendant Diageo, America Supply Incorporated, was a New York corporation, and upon information and belief, currently is a Kentucky and or an Illinois corporation doing business as Sea Rock Distilling Company in New York. Ms. Richard conferred a benefit on these defendants pursuant to the direction of defendant Combs. Okay, all right, let's continue on. Now, it also goes on to say defendant Janice Combs, which they have alleged that this is not even his mother, but his aunt, who he has been known to have intimate involvements with. All right. It's very sick, y'all. Publishing Holdings Incorporated is a music publishing administrator, a New York corporation, and a successor in interest to Janice Combs Publishing Incorporated, who at all relevant times held or holds the publishing copyrights of Miss Richard pursuant to her employment with other defendants herein under all relevant statutes. They are very sneaky individuals. So, it says that Janice Combs is holding the publishing and copyrights to Don Richards' music. Interesting. Sony has been named as well, saying that they are a limited liability company who is the assignee of Miss Richards' publishing copyrights from defendants Janice Combs Publishing Incorporated and Janice Combs Publishing Holdings Incorporated. All right. Then they also name Love Records with its principal place of business in California. Let's see. Epic Records is named as well. All right. Continuing on. Very interesting information just in the very beginning of this whole lawsuit. All right. Sean Combs and Bad Boy Records conduct substantial business and or are domiciled in this district. All right. So this is why they filed in this district because the venue is proper in this court pursuant to the section and code because of a substantial part of the events or missions giving rise to this action. All right, let's keep going, everyone. So it says that she was selected to be in his female musical group Danity Kane after competing on the MTV's Making the Band. Interesting. And around 2004, Miss Richard was selected to participate in season 3 of MTV Network's reality show, Making the Band. The show centered around the formation and development of a new musical group under the mentorship of Sean Combs. The contestants would compete and be chosen by Combs to form a band which would go on to create albums and perform For aspiring for aspiring artists like Miss Richard, making the band represented a concrete path to a career in the entertainment industry. Miss Richard appeared in season 3 and 4 of Making the Band, which first aired in 2005, and in season 5 of Making His Band, which aired in 2009. Out of thousands of contestants, Miss Richard, along with approximately 12 other women, were selected to participate in season 3 of Making the Band. 5 women, including Miss Richard, were ultimately chosen for the group Danity Kane and was named by Miss Richard. I didn't know she named that group. Prior to acting and including the first Danity Kane album, Making the Band was filmed entirely at Daddy's house recording studio. All right. And it gives the location 3120 West 44th Street, New York, New York. The Making the Band contestant that focused on Danity Kane's work in its second album, Welcome to the Dollhouse, was filmed at Daddy's house and at Mr. Combs' Miami residence. So that was their first CD title. Other Making the Band episodes included Los Angeles as a third filming location. So if you all remember, he had that big mansion out in Miami. So it sounds like that he has the daddy's house is located in Miami, and a lot of torture took place for victims in his Miami residence, according to the victims that have come out to speak. Upon information and belief to create Making the Band, camera crews filmed 24 hours a day, gathering months worth of footage to condense into more hours of entertainment for viewers. Danity Kane released its self-titled debut album in August 2006 and its second album, Welcome to the Dollhouse, in March of 2008. Danity Kane's first album sold 4 million copies, over 4 million copies. Damages to Miss Richard for unpaid salaries are estimated to be $1 million. Danity Kane's second album, Welcome to the Dollhouse, sold over 2 million copies. Damages to Miss Richard for unpaid salaries and royalties are estimated to be 500,000, and damages on unpaid wages for touring on over 100 dates for Miss Richard with Danity Kane are estimated to be $1.8 million. Mr. Combs fired bandmate Aubrey O'Day and Juanita D. Woodgett from Danity Kane on live television at the height of its fame in 2008, which resulted in Danity Kane being disbanded in 2009. All right, now it's going to get into the acts, okay, of Mr. Combs' aggressive, intimidating behavior and animus towards women. During the auditions and on the set of Making the Band, Mr. Combs projected an aura of superiority. We know that he's very cocky, very arrogant, wealth and power. Mr. Combs regularly wore sunglasses and avoided looking the female contestants in the eyes. That sounds like him, contributing to an atmosphere of uncertainty and intimidation. It's not funny because that's exactly how he portrays himself. During auditions, Mr. Combs spoke to the female contestants in a hostile, condescending manner, making disparaging gender-based remarks such as calling them fat, ugly bees and hoes. Yeah, I could see that because look how he spoke to the band. Remember how he treated them? Miss Richard felt threatened and intimidated by Mr. Combs' blatant disdain for the young women like herself who were excited for the opportunity to be on his show. Once the band was made, Mr. Combs' contempt for women was readily apparent as he continued to display aggressive and hostile behavior towards Miss Richard and her all-female Danity Kane bandmates. Mr. Combs regularly referred to the 5 women as bees and hoes and denigrated their physical appearances. I could see that. By way of example, Mr. Combs stated that Miss Richard was too skinny and needed to do something about her face, her face. Why would they even pick her if they were going to treat her this way? And I guess it was on purpose so he could treat her this way. On one occasion in or around 2005, during the first season of Making the Band 3, Miss Richard observed Mr. Combs, his ex-partner, and the mother of 3 of his children, Kim Porter, leaving Mr. Combs' recording studio in tears with visible facial injuries, including a lacerated lip. Realizing that Mr. Combs was capable of committing acts of violence against women caused Miss Richard to feel deep apprehension and fear that Mr. Combs could one day physically harm her. She should have left the group and never looked back. Why stay there? Miss Richard was present when Mr. Combs was introduced to Cassie Ventura for the first time in or around 2006. The moment Mr. Combs first saw Miss Ventura, his demeanor noticeably shifted. Mr. Combs positioned himself directly in front of Cassie's seat, invading her personal space and fixated on her with an intense, unyielding stare, isolating her from the other people in the room, including Miss Ventura's then boyfriend, music producer Ryan Leslie. Interesting. Coincidentally, this first meeting between Mr. Combs and Cassie was the first time that Miss Richard was in Mr. Combs' presence without a camera crew filming. Observing Mr. Combs behave in such an intimidating, predatory manner, the first time that they were off camera made Dawn feel deeply apprehensive and afraid of them. Again, she should have left. Subsequently, Miss Ventura ended her relationship with Mr. Leslie and began dating Mr. Combs, who would become violent and abusive towards her. Okay, that was her decision because at that point in time, she was able to make that decision to leave that guy and be with someone else, and this is what she chose. Danity Kane. All right, here comes the sexual harassment, inhumane treatment, and denial of basic needs by Mr. Combs. For the majority of Miss Richards' tenure as a member of Danity Kane and Diddy Dirty Money, Mr. Combs required her to remain in or at various residences and studios in New York, Los Angeles, Florida, and New Jersey for activities such as recording, rehearsing, dressing, preparing costumes, and exercising. Throughout the productions of Making the Band 3 and 4, Mr. Combs deprived Miss Richard and her Danity Kane bandmates of basic needs such as adequate food and sleep. When Miss Richard or her Danity Kane bandmates requested meals or rest, Mr. Combs refused and chastised them with derogatory comments like, "You bees don't want this, or y'all or y'all are not hungry enough and I'm paying you bees to work." This demeaning behavior gradually undermined Miss Richards' confidence and contributed significantly to her growing feelings of insecurity and fear of reprisal from Mr. Combs. Let me let y'all know something, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care who the individual is. There have been instances when I've been on a job and I was young. I was probably 20 years old and I had to face the manager, aka supervisor, take them in a conference room and let them know that I will not tolerate disrespect, regardless of who and what their title is. And be prepared to stand up for yourself. Have the confidence to not let anyone talk down to you. This is ridiculous. And I think she did it because this was Puff Daddy. She felt like this was a chance of a lifetime and she allowed herself to be down spoken down to. You don't allow this by anybody. I don't care who they are. I've even made this comment. I don't care if you're the president of the United States. You're not going to disrespect me. And you have to stand up for yourself. This is ridiculous. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs would regularly be awake for prolonged periods of time because he was high on drugs. During these periods, Mr. Combs demanded continuous access to Miss Richard and her Danity Kane bandmates, often forcing them to record and rehearse for stretches of 36 to 48 hours without breaks. Forced to choose between eating and sleeping, Miss Richard lost a significant amount of weight. She was very thin, weighing approximately 100 pounds at the height of 5'4". So she probably was real petite anyway. Look at Cassie. She was petite. Kim Porter was petite. And they're kind of long and lanky individuals. So that's going to make them look even smaller. I'm very petite, but I'm shorter. Miss Richard began to normalize these extreme conditions and perceive them as standard requirements for her participation in Danity Kane. If something doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. Listen to your gut instincts, everybody. Mr. Combs regularly sent his associates to wake Miss Richard and her Danity Kane bandmates in the overnight hours so he could watch them rehearse. The regularity of these disturbances led Miss Richard to adapt by sleeping in a sitting position, fully dressed and with makeup on, heightening her anxiety. Over time, this abnormal sleeping arrangement came to feel routine, further normalizing Mr. Combs' invasive demands. In addition to exhausting rehearsals, Mr. Combs required Miss Richard and her bandmates to participate in intense workouts with a personal trainer. On one occasion, while running on the beach, Miss Richard became so dehydrated that she vomited. Instead of offering medical assistance, MTV Network's camera crew filmed the incident, contributing to her acceptance of such treatment as part of her professional life. It started interfering with her health. You got to leave at some point. The unrelenting and rigorous schedule of rehearsals, performance, and near constant filming that Mr. Combs imposed caused Miss Richard to experience extreme weight loss, dehydration, fatigue, and painful rashes from the microphone pack she was required to wear on her back. These conditions intensified Miss Richards' feelings of powerlessness as she increasingly viewed them as part of her professional reality and feared the consequences of any resistance. In a further assertion of power and dominance, Mr. Combs insisted on holding meetings while dressed only in his underwear. That is weird. On one occasion in 2008 at his Miami residence, Mr. Combs emailed Miss Richard directing her to meet him in the living room. When she arrived, he was wearing only his underwear. Mr. Richard asked Mr. Combs to put clothes on, but he refused, stating, "This is my effing house." Mr. Combs then conducted a meeting lasting approximately an hour while dressed in his underwear, causing Miss Richard to feel violated and embarrassed and amplifying her feelings of powerlessness. So he was testing the boundaries to see how far he could get away with doing these things in front of her and them. And he succeeded because they did not leave. They did not stand up for themselves. They should have gotten out of this. Following the official Danity Kane breakup in early 2009, effectuated by Mr. Combs. So he actually basically caused the breakup to happen. They should have left and not given him an opportunity, in my personal opinion. That's how you claim your power, ladies and men and gentlemen. Miss Richard experienced significant financial hardship with no prospective opportunities for employment within the entertainment field. Miss Richard spent several months traveling from Baltimore to Daddy's House recording studios in New York without pay or allocated budget. She should have gotten another job. It wouldn't have been in the entertainment industry, but she could have gotten a regular job somewhere else. I don't know if she went to college, but she should have gone to some type of school. She was still young enough to do that and further her education and get some type of training, some type of certification or a license where nobody, including Puff Daddy, could take that away from you. Ladies, start your own businesses out here. Mr. Combs. So you can't be reliant on Mr. Combs, y'all. This is the problem. People will use you psychologically to break you down mentally, and you become dependent on them. This is not good. This is showing a lack of confidence and insecurity. Mr. Combs promised that Miss Richards' compositions would result in payment of license fees and royalties pursuant to her contract with Bad Boy Records. However, no such compensation was ever reported or paid to Miss Richard. Damages relative to those continuing copyright infringements will be proved at trial. So he promised her, but where you can verbally make an agreement, but if it did not happen in writing, everybody knows, according to law, according to insurance claims, because I used to handle insurance claims and I used to settle claims with attorneys and bodily injury claims with the, third parties. And if it's not documented in writing, that it does not mean anything. You cannot verbally agree to getting compensation. It does not work that way, y'all. Diddy Dirty Money. Miss Richard experiences Mr. Combs' gender-based physical violence, criminal acts, sexual assault, threats, and intimidation. So we're going to see what happened. Did he physically lay hands on her? By approximately the fall of 2009, many of Miss Richards' compositions had been recorded by other Bad Boy record artists. So It says records artists. I think it should be record artists. Similar to Misha. And I find it very ironic that an elementary age child that was living in an impoverished environment is somebody that they wanted writing for them. But I'm thinking that they did that because they could take advantage of her. And I'm talking about a completely different individual, Misha. She's featured on Natanya Rubin's channel. It's called The Dope Nerd, The Dopest Nerd. Check out those interviews. I think that they probably did that because they felt like they could take advantage of her, being that she had a drug addict for a mother, no father around. These people know what they're doing. All right, let's continue on. And I wonder, where was these girls' parents? Where were their family members? Were they telling their parents what was happening? Because this is really strange behavior. I know for a fact my mother would not have been going for this. And even though they were in their 20s, my mother still would have had something to say at 26 years of age, or however old they were, because I think they were around the 23, 24 age range or something like that. Due to the success of her compositions, Miss Richard was invited to meet with musical artist Kalina Harper. And shortly thereafter, Miss Richard and Miss Harper formed a new group called Dirty Money. I remember that the making of the band mates had an issue because they felt like she was, forming some type of working relationship with Puff Daddy without them, and she was denying it. But I know he kept calling her, and he knew what he was doing, calling her to the side, calling her without them to come with him to work on special projects behind their backs. We saw that on the show because I did watch that show back when it was airing. And he plays this whole divisiveness against females and people in the industry. He knows what he's doing. He's very strategic. He's much older than them, and he's very manipulative and calculating. Initial recording for Diddy Dirty Money's album Last Train to Paris took place in Mr. Combs' home on Dahoney Drive in Los Angeles, California. On the first day of recording, Miss Richard and Miss Harper arrived at Mr. Combs' home and waited in the kitchen where Mr. Combs' girlfriend, Cassie, was frying eggs for him. Miss Richard observed Mr. Combs come down the stairs looking high on drugs, enter the kitchen, approach Cassie, and scream, "I've been asking you for my ish. I can't stand you, B. You never do it right." Mr. Combs pushed Cassie against the wall and choked her, then picked up the scalding hot pan of eggs and threw it at her, causing her to fall to the ground in a fetal position, cursing and screaming. Sean dragged Miss Cassie up the stairs. So they witnessed this and they still stayed to work with him. How shocking is that, y'all? That they would actually see this happening and still stay there. I would have left because the man is crazy. And maybe they felt like, well, it's not happening to me. He didn't do it to me. He didn't physically assault or attack me yet. He didn't physically, threaten me. He didn't harm me. People got to stop acting like they're oblivious to what's going on, y'all. And, you know, you got to stand up for yourself. You have to stand up for yourself, y'all. You cannot think that they won't do it to you because they will. So, I mean, I don't condone this behavior at all whatsoever. All right, let's keep going because there's a lot to uncover here. Yeah, I'm just actually trying to make sure I can be heard. I have to continuously check to make sure I can be heard. So anyway, moving along, frozen in shock and terror. Don heard glass shattering, crashing, and banging noises as Sean dragged Cassie up the stairs. Don wanted to intervene and help Miss Ventura, but Miss Harper adamantly refused to interfere in Mr. Combs' relationship and physically led Miss Richard out of the residence. Terrified and shaken, excuse me, Terrified and shaken, excuse me, Miss Richard returned to her hotel where she was unable to sleep due to worrying about Miss Ventura and her own safety. You all, excuse me, let me get something to drink from my throat. I do apologize. I'll be right back. But you can read on, read along. My sincerest apologies for that, but I am human. And unfortunately, I have been overcoming something that has been trying to take over and cause me some sickness. And I've been fighting that. So, everyone, if you haven't, invest into some colloidal silver spray. All right. And ginger ale, lemons, and lemon water. Okay. It helps a lot. Get the mucus out of your body. This is how we get sick, according to Dr. Sabi. All right, so let's continue on. Terrified and shaken, Dawn returned to her hotel where she was unable to sleep due to worrying about Cassie and her own safety. The following day, well, why didn't she call the police? She should have called the police. The following day, Dawn received a call demanding that she return to Mr. Combs' residence to continue recording. Mr. Combs brought Dawn and Miss Harper into the recording room at his studio, locked the door, dimmed the lights, and gave each of them flowers. Now, this is how he is starting to manipulate them. You know? Now, we heard the same antics being done to um, Kim Porter after, he assaulted her and attacked her at gunpoint. What did he do? He started sending her flowers, started sending Quincy a bunch of toys, sending gifts to the residents. This is a manipulative strategy, and he's very good at what he does. He's calculated, and he has mental issues, y'all. He's imbalanced, and something is seriously wrong with him. I really know that because he was high on drugs, a lot of these outbursts are caused because of his drug use. And I know that for a fact. This is how people act when they are on drugs. Mr. Combs went on at length stating this is normal. This was just a lover's argument where no one was hurt. This is what love is. I'm giving you an opportunity. If you want to make it, you'll shut your mouth. If you say anything, there will be consequences. Mr. Combs further warned that people end up missing, being threatened while locked for over 20 minutes in a small enclosed space with Mr. Combs. After observing, I don't even want to call him Mr. Combs. After observing this demon violently assault Cassie the day before, Don was terrified and genuinely believed that he would follow through on his threats. I could see why she was in fear of her life at that point. If someone tells you that they take care of people, they have people missing, they're threatening you. They're letting you know that they have so much power and they will follow through on it. And he did follow through on things. That's what puts fear in people. This is how our ancestors and the slaves were in slavery for so long. And this is why we are still, as a people, still mentally enslaved because so many people are stuck in a slave minded plantation way of thinking on these jobs and in this society. This is why we don't come together as a people like we should. In or around November 2009, after the Soul Train Awards in Atlanta, Georgia, Mr. Combs flew Miss Richard and Miss Harper to his house in New York on his private jet for an after party. They were there were many well-known, what they call these demon creatures. Okay, Hollywood demons. I'm not calling them celebrities. We're not celebrating those entities. There were Hollywood demons at the after party, and copious amounts of illegal drugs were being openly consumed. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs, the demon, had arranged for dozens of young women and girls, some of whom appeared to be underage, to be transported to the party. The women arrived wearing little to no clothing and were given drugs and alcohol. Many of them appeared lethargic or passed out, while the demon and his guests performed sexual acts on them. Dawn believed that her presence at the party was a test to see whether Sean could trust her, and that's what that was. That's exactly what that was. They say he did the same thing to Total back in the day. He had them traveling around with him going to clubs and after parties. Excuse me, y'all. Sean, the demon, repeated things like, "This is a buffet. Enjoy yourselves. This is what we do. This is how we party. Why you ain't never party with me? Huh? What you talking about? We just party." No, I mean party. Why you ain't never party with me? He know what I'm talking about. Ooh, daddy. I love it when you scraping and you scrambling. I love that, daddy. He is sick. Don felt shocked and horrified at the sight of the demon and his guests violating, incapacitated. So she is a witness to what these victims went through. She is a witness. I wonder who these women were, if she could name any of them or describe what they looked like or what they were wearing. Incapacitated young women, and implored Sean's personal assistant, Capricorn Clark, to allow her to leave. Miss Clark insisted that she wait 15 minutes for Miss Clark to make it make sense. That is, to make Miss Richards' exit less conspicuous so that Mr. Combs would not notice that she had left. So they had to sneak her out of the party. Knowing that she was not free to leave and had to wait for Miss Clark to help her orchestrate her departure, Miss Richard experienced feelings of panic and being trapped against her will. She should have never gone back. Sean regularly placed Miss Richard in similar situations with no means to escape. At his request, at his drug fueled parties, his guests, including Dawn, were required to surrender their phones upon entry, you all. I remember this girl that I used to work with, and she met Chris Brown back in the day. She told us this story back in like around 2015, 2014, something like that. We all went out to like this dinner or lunch or something for our job. So we were all sitting there. But she was telling us about how she met Chris Brown. Her and her, I think, two other friends met Chris Brown back in the day. And he had them to give up their cell phones at the door. This is something that a lot of these people practice. She said Chris Brown was being like acting like an asshole to them, and I could see that because he seems like a jackass. He's another one that's strung out on drugs, and he's violent towards females. There's no secret to that. And a lot of these people exhibit the same regular behavior. They have money, they have influence, they have drugs. They can do whatever they feel like they want to do, and people continue to worship and idolize these idiots. What I'm saying is that my colleague at the time, she had no idea of what really goes on in these people's houses and at these parties, what could have really taken place. You're giving up your phone, you're giving up a way to call for help if something were to help happen to you. They could do anything, and you have no way to communicate with the outside world. Don't ever do that. If you have to give up your phone at these parties, you might as well leave, because they said that Tiny and Ti had the same type of parties where these females had to give up their phones at the door. So this is common practice. And these women were drugged, given alcohol, and assaulted, and done things to them and they couldn't remember the next night or the next morning what had happened, and being violently treated a certain type of way and assaulted. And these are not my words. You can look these videos up about Ti and Tiny having these parties. This is very common practice. Puff Daddy's not the only one having these parties. There were other girls up in that house. Okay, I was eating my McDonald's, y'all. According to Charles Ramsey, y'all remember the girl that was locked in the basement? And this was just a regular person, or at a regular person's house. It happens a lot. So stop trying to separate it because these people are in the industry. They are just like the rest of these criminals out here. They're all the same. The only difference is you see these people on TV and social media. They have influence, they have money, and people are giving their power to them. They're giving power to them. They don't have power if you don't give them attention. Take your power back. Oh gosh, let's keep going, y'all. Sean kept the doors locked and guarded by security personnel, making it impossible for Miss Richard to leave without alerting Sean that she had done so. Sean hired police officers to attend his parties. So this is another thing too. They put police on their payroll. Remember O.J. Simpson? A lot of police knew him and would come to their residence whenever Nicole Simpson would call the police. But they left out the fact that she was snorting and sniffing cocaine as well. All right. She was back there hanging out with Chris Jenner, and we all know that Kris Jenner was at these Diddy parties as well. They were out there in the crowd at these parties as well. Okay. Make no mistake about it. Nicole was not that innocent. Kim Porter was not that innocent. They were complicit. All right. And I'm going to say this: Kim Porter knew what was going on behind the scenes. All right. Y'all going to hear about Misha's story about how Kim Porter was telling Puffy not to have Misha out in public. They were transporting her through tunnels, going to Bill Cosby's house, going to the Playboy Bunny's ranch. And I would strongly suggest that people investigate all of those houses to see if there are tunnels underneath. Why haven't we heard anything about these tunnels, y'all? They said that he was trying to sell his Miami mansion. Aren't there tunnels underneath? Who wants to have a house that is known for all of this stuff? Mr. Combs hired police officers to attend his party, sending a clear message to guests that his influence extended to the law enforcement officers, creating a climate of fear and a tacit warning that reporting him to authorities would be both unacceptable and futile. I could see that. On many occasions, Sean had parties at his Miami, Florida. See, that's where a lot of this stuff went down. Residence that lasted for several days. At one of the parties, Don witnessed Sean openly stating that he had arranged for busloads of young exotic girls, such as mixed black and Asian, Indonesian, and albino. Do y'all remember? I'm going to find the clip of Sean Diddy's neighbor saying that he had busloads of girls coming to the house. Yeah, we're going to pull this up. We're going to pull up what he said. It's right here. It's right here. We're not making it up. He goes on to make some interesting allegations about Diddy right on the spot, claiming that Diddy would have minors visit him at night, pulling up by the busload. Hey, stop bringing all the minors out here late at night. I've been right next to him. Too much. Like, what? Yeah, bus, all types of stuff up. Especially at nighttime, like around 3 o'clock in the morning. It gets wild. I'm his neighbor. My basketball over there, I just let it be. Don't worry about it. The man who claims to be Let's hear that again for the people in the back who don't want to believe it. Let's hear it again. All right, here we go. Here we go, y'all. Here we go. This one is not too clear. I know here, let's click on this one. Minors. He said he don't even want to go over there and knock on the door. But this is the Sean Puffy that they want y'all to see. Sickening. Sickening. So whoever that person is, obviously she's a fan even after the allegations came out. She wants to sit up there and have a photo op with Sean Combs and his children because she's talking about, oh, they're beautiful. I'm not lying. She's on the phone with somebody saying that, oh, she's around Puff Daddy. Excuse me, y'all. Mm. And that's the issue right there. People giving attention to people who they shouldn't be giving attention to. Let's continue on. What page were we on, y'all? She had escaped the party. That's where we were. And then he was inviting authorities to the party. All right, here we go. All right, so as you heard it from the neighbor himself, he would invite little girls to the house. And where was he getting these girls from? People would like to know. They said they were traveling through these tunnels. Once again, Don observed inebriated young girls being sexually violated by Sean and his guests. In a state of panic and terror, Don fled to the bedroom. Mr. Combs had insisted she stay in and barricaded the door shut with furniture. So he insisted that she stay in there and barricaded the door and shut it with furniture. Mr. Combs openly assaulted Cassie in front of Don and other witnesses on multiple occasions. On one occasion, in or around fall of 2009, Diddy Dirty Money was in New York preparing to perform at a festival. So she's still trying to perform around him. Inside their vehicle, Sean grabbed Cassie's neck, pulled her out of the van onto the grass, and pinned her down, choking her while yelling, "You gonna get effed up today." This incident took place in the backstage area just outside the festival and was entirely visible to passerbyers. Passersby. In another instance, in or around early 2010, Sean punched Cassie in the face in the bathroom of a party in Los Angeles. Frequently, when Cassie attempted to voice an opinion or stand up to Sean, he would strike her or wrap his hands around her throat and choke her. On the first several occasions they observed Sean assault Cassie, Don and Miss Harper spoke with Cassie to support and encourage her in escaping her abusive relationship from Sean. Every time that Don and Miss Harper tried to intervene, Sean learned of the conversation and became irate. How was he finding about these conversations? Was Cassie telling him, "Oh, they're telling me to leave you"? Was she going back and telling them? Or was somebody else reporting it? Or did he have cameras? What was going on? Sean screamed at the women, "Y'all bees don't get in my relationship. Don't tell my bee what she need to be doing. Just make money and shut the F up. I end artists. I shelve careers. You could be missing. And you bees want to die today? And you bees want to die today," among other threats. What were the other threats? Interscope Records enabled Mr. Combs' gender-motivated violence. Why did they not leave? This is insane. In or around late 2000, it's really shocking how females can continue to stay and stay and stay and stay. In or around 2009 or early 2010, Bad Boy Entertainment entered an agreement with Interscope Geffen A&M Records, Interscope. Upon information and belief, Bad Boy was paid $50 million in exchange for Bad Boy's future releases being distributed through Interscope. In doing so, Sean intended to capitalize on Interscope's significant resources and enhance the promotion and sales of Bad Boy's releases, including Diddy, Dirty Money's upcoming album. Did that album do very well? In the weeks and months leading up to the Bad Boy Interscope deal, Sean had frequent meetings with producer and then CEO of Interscope Records, Jimmy Iovine, another very crooked, ratchet, criminal demon in the industry. On one such occasion, y'all got to stop doing business with your oppressor. This is why a lot of this was happening too. You think that never mind. Let me just keep going. On one such occasion, Combs hosted a dinner at a West Hollywood, California restaurant, which Miss Richard and Miss Harper were required to attend. Among the guests at the dinner were Hollywood demons. I will not call them celebrities because I'm just not going to do that. Neo and Usher. I can't stand how Neo looks. He gets on my nerves. He always reminded me of a fake Usher, as well as Mr. I'm not calling him Mr. Jimmy Iovine. At the dinner, Sean and Cassie had an argument. All right, I think we know what's going to happen where he hit her in the stomach. In front of the dinner guests, Sean hissed at Cassie in a screaming whisper and forcefully punched her in the stomach, causing her to double over in visible pain, crying. Excuse me. Miss Clark escorted Cassie out of the restaurant. Oh boy. This was just a regular thing for them. And Sean remained and continued socializing with the dinner guests. So Neo witnessed this and Usher witnessed it, and they just kept on talking as if nothing ever happened. At this point, so they're not men. There are no real men in this industry. At this point, Interscope Records clearly had actual knowledge that Sean was dangerous around females and that Sean was willing to brazenly batter a female in public. Of course he will, because he has all of the enablers around him that only care about furthering their careers and getting money. Even after Jimmy Iovine watched Sean commit a violent assault in front of numerous supposedly high profile witnesses. That's not high profile. There were a bunch of witnesses that a Bad Boy Interscope deal took place and remained in effect, providing Sean with immense financial rewards and enabling him to commit further acts of violence without fear of repercussions because people are crooked. This system is crooked. America is built on demonic stronghold and oppression. So when you have a country that's built on oppression of melanated and indigenous people, this is what goes on because the ancestors are not resting because we are still living under demonic stronghold. Watching Sean Combs, and he's a participant, watching Sean openly assault Cassie in front of Jimmy Iovine and various other Hollywood demons, and observing that other powerful music industry representatives were complicit in Sean's behavior amplified Dawn's fears that Combs could one day harm her and that his actions would be accepted and normalized by everyone surrounding him. Of course, she should have left. As part of the agreement between Bad Boy and Interscope heavily promoted Diddy Dirty Money's Last Train to Paris album. Jimmy Iovine had presented Sean with a demo of Coming Home for him to produce. A song that would, y'all remember the after party with, I'm going to show it to y'all. So it was the Dirty Money after party. And Kevin Hart was there. Don was there. Trey Songz was there. A lot of people were at this after party, y'all. Let's see if we can find it. Here it is. Here it is. All right, let's click on it real quickly. This is the after party. Diddy Dirty Money after party. Now you see what he's trying to do, right? He's trying to say, I don't even feel comfortable with you in my bed. Go get some girls. He knows that people have been floating the rumors around that he's GAY. So this is his way of coming on camera, trying to denounce those claims. Kevin knows what's going on. He can sit there and look buck-eyed stupid all he wants in the face, but he's been a part of these elaborate demonic Hollywood rituals as well. He was at these parties. No homo, no homo. You hear how he keeps saying that? When they have to keep saying that, it's for a reason. Why is his breath stinking? What has he been eating, or where has his mouth been? You see those candles around that tub? Looks like a ritual about to take place. You see this? They are admitting their guilt. Hmm.
turn the music down a little bit. Let's get some order to this. Everybody, first of all, I don't know why all the girls over there and all the guys over here. If you ain't talking to a girl, then you got to go because this ain't that type of party. If you shy,
This is all for optics. This is all for the public to hear. This is all for the public to hear. They know that there's a lot of man on man activity going on. There's a lot of female on female activity going on. There are a lot of things taking place at these parties. This is not the party that they are going to show behind the scenes footage of, y'all. They're not going to show that to the public.
some of this is just get a girl, strike up a conversation or something. I got my bad thing. Hey, yo, we live? Tell me, we live right now? Okay, check this out. If I put this thing, I want to play. This is out of control. I'm in the mix of sexy right now. What's up, man? Get it right now, man. Come on, man. Ladies over here, let's do it. I got the boss out of control right now.
All right. So as we can see, this is Kalina Harper and Don Richard. You just heard what she said out of her mouth on the song. Okay. Very sensual song. And they're allegedly partying, but it doesn't look like a lot is really going on in the background, to be honest.
This is what I'm going to do because I think they never been to a Diddy party. If you're not dancing, I just got hard.
All right. Listen to Kevin Hart and listen to Puff Daddy and look at their reactions in the background. All right. So I guess they're putting on a front for you people to see. They look like they're, celebrating the album release. She's laughing and all of this is going on, right?
That's the go. Ladies, I need y'all to come in. Ladies,
He loves to pour drinks. He loves to pour drinks. And a lot of these women look like models, very tall, thin, frail. And he talked about Don Richard, but they have the same body type. And on top of it, they're probably hired to be here. They probably have been told to come on camera and do this so that it can look like a real party, y'all. All right, so that's that. Let's go ahead and take it back to the lawsuit, okay? So let's get back to our document and let's go down to, I think we're like page 12 or 13. Okay. All right, we saw this, so we had surpassed that part. All right, let's read what this says. All right, he dragged Cassie by her hair, threatened her, all of that. All right, bad boys, blah, blah, blah. Upcoming album. Miss Ventura had an argument. All right, he punched her. We remember that part. All right. All right. Okay. So this goes right into what I was talking about. Good. All right. Let's zoom in here. So Diddy Dirty Money, Mr. Combs subjects Mr. Richard to labor trafficking and oppressive working conditions. In or around fall of 2009, Diddy Dirty Money began recording the song Love Comes Down. I used to like that song. You make my love come down, babe. I used to like the beat to that song too. It's the dirty money. Uh, it's the dirty money. I don't know if y'all remember that song, but I remember that song. But it was only like a few songs that like here and there that sounded okay. Like I didn't really like that CD. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs continued to use drugs that caused him to remain awake for prolonged periods of time. When he was awake, he would demand that Miss Richard and Miss Harper record in the studio, where they would spend 3 to 4 consecutive days recording without a break to eat or sleep. How in the world could they perform like that? Mr. Combs required Miss Richard and Miss Harper to remain at his home, continuously denying the opportunity to return to their hotel rooms for breaks. The degree of control he had exercised over them and over her daily life and basic needs exacerbated the significant power imbalance and threatening atmosphere that ensured Miss Richards' compliance with his demands. And she didn't even get paid or compensated like she was supposed to. This is craziness. Mr. Combs regularly left the studio and required Don and Miss Harper to stay and write verses to songs. Occasionally, Dawn tried to leave to get something to eat or to go to her hotel. Whenever Dawn tried to leave, Sean would call and demand, "Where the F are you? And we have an album to make." Sean frequently made threats, especially if they asked for food or rest, stating, "You're a B. I don't want to see your effing face. I make engines go missing and I make things go away." Each time, Miss Richard returned to the studio immediately, believing that Sean was capable of following through with his threats. Girl, you gotta eat. I mean, this is craziness. Sean criticized Dawn for being too skinny, yet denied her request to food and demanded that she drink only peanut butter shakes. If anybody knows about peanut butter, it's filled with protein, so it's supposed to make you gain weight. Mr. Combs had full meals prepared by a chef and ate them in front of Dawn and Miss Harper, never offering them food. I wouldn't want to eat any of his food because you don't know what could have been in that food. Don and Miss Harper begged for food and rest breaks, but Sean refused, making statements such as, "Absolutely effing not. And this is what it takes to be great." He sounds almost like Joe Jackson, y'all. But not even as, I don't even know if Joe Jackson went this far. Sean's responses underscored the threat he posed and heightened Miss Richards' concerns for her safety and well being. Dawn continued to work nonstop, transitioning between the studio, rehearsals, workouts, and back to the studio. How does she have energy to work out? She became severely dehydrated and experienced chronic stomach cramping from being undernourished and excessively thin. On the numerous occasions that she told Mr. Combs that she was not feeling well, he called her lazy and dismissed her health concerns, instilling in her further apprehension of communicating her needs. She should have gone to the doctor. In or around the summer of 2010, Dawn experienced abdominal pain, swollen glands, and a fever. She was hospitalized and diagnosed with I never heard of this. Oh, it's like arthritis. Arthralgia, joint pain due to overuse sprains, tendonitis, and infection, anemia, and a low white blood cell count. Yeah, that probably did happen. She wasn't resting. Your white blood cells, that's how your body fights off sickness and anemia. That's because she was not receiving enough oxygen to her blood. Okay. She didn't have enough iron in her body. And this has something to do with your hemoglobin levels, y'all. This is how your blood cells holds onto the oxygen in your body. And if it doesn't receive enough oxygen, it can cause you to be iron deficient, which leads to you being anemic. Don Richard presented Mr. Combs with her medical records specifying why was she showing him her medical records that she needed to emphasize eating well, being adequately hydrated and getting adequate rest, but Sean ordered her to report to the studio the next day for another multi-day recording session. So at this point now she's putting her career above her health. Sean's blatant disregard for her health and well-being cemented Dawn's fear of his authority and control over her career and health. You can't let people have this much control, y'all. Sean continued to witness, I'm sorry, Dawn continued to witness Sean's abuse towards Cassie. Cassie often wore sunglasses and makeup in an attempt to hide visible injuries. These incidents further solidified Sean's fear of Sean as Dawn's fear of Sean, as they were constant reminders of the physical dangers she potentially could and eventually would face. Okay. Oh boy, this is very long. This is a 55-page document. I know that Cassie's was around the same length. Sean often exhibited uncontrollable anger. Excuse me, y'all, if you can hear my cat in the background, she's vying for my attention. Sean Combs often exhibited uncontrollable anger during recording sessions, throwing objects like albums, laptops, and food against the wall or at individuals, which we already saw that. Sean frequently flew into frenzied, unpredictable rages, very believable based on the video that we saw. Sean feared making any misstep. I'm sorry, Dawn feared making any misstep that could direct his anger toward her. However, her fears went beyond her immediate physical safety because she had witnessed Sean's violent nature, a side of Sean that the world had not seen. She feared that falling out of Sean's good graces, or worse, standing up to him or speaking out against him, could result in serious harm to her. You know, his aura, I'm surprised people don't have spiritual discernment because I remember very early in my younger age, back in my 20s, and I saw him. I knew back in like 2000, what was it, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2002, 2001, 2003, that he had a very evil, nasty spirit back then. And if I could see that through the TV screen, how could people being in the same room with him not understand this? Don frequently thought about Sean's threats about making people go missing and feared taking any action that could label her as a target. Despite Sean's violence, threats, and misogyny, Diddy Dirty Money experienced significant sales of records, selling 2 million copies of one single. Okay, so that was a single, 500,000 of another in the US, and in Australia, 5 million single copies. Miss Richards' unpaid wages and royalties are estimated at 1.2 million. Miss Richards' unpaid touring wages are estimated at 350,000 for touring dates within the United States alone. I wonder, was all that suffering worth it? Because I'm pretty sure she could have made this money being less tortured and doing it in another way with her gifts and talents and abilities. I would assume, I would say. But of course, Diddy he had the plug, so that did help the advancement of this. But was it worth the suffering that she endured? In or around the summer of 2009, Miss Richard and Miss Harper were required by Sean to perform as a part of Diddy Dirty Money and attend numerous promotional events, including later overnight parties, all of which were under contract between Mr. Combs and C-Rock Vodka, or between Mr. Combs and Diddy Beats, pursuant to the Bad Boy Interscope record deal. I'm wondering if I should stop this. And then I think I'm going to do this, stop it and come back on here because this is a very lengthy lawsuit. Ms. Richard was never compensated for the extra time she spent fulfilling Mr. Combs' promotional contracts, including the C-Rock and the Diddy Beats campaign. You remember Monique talked about this as well when Tyler Perry wanted, I think somebody wanted her to go and promote a movie for free using her time, her energy, her effort, but did not want to compensate her. So this is what he's doing to Dawn here. Anytime you do promotional work and you're promoting things, you're supposed to get compensated for that. Mr. Combs was paid approximately 250,000 per C-Rock appearance. Mr. Combs did not compensate Miss Richard or Miss Harper for their appearances other than just $5,000 each on a handful of occasions. Sean's ongoing explanation for withholding compensation was that their appearances were a requirement for their tour. Additionally, Miss Richard was required to appear and to promote Diddy Beats through parties, albums, songs, and videos. Over time, Mr. Combs was paid 6.25 million for 25 C-Rock shows that Miss Richard was required to attend. Following each show, Miss Richard and Miss Harper approached Mr. Combs to inquire about their insufficient and sporadic payments. Sean routinely responded with statements such as, "You bees aren't grateful and you don't want this." Ms. Richard estimates losses from Ciroc campaign promotions totaling at least $1.5 million dollars. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs received an advance on Diddy beats for which Miss Richard received no compensation. All right. Now, let's go on. It says Mr. Combs sexually harasses and assaults Miss Richard. Between approximately 2009 and 2011, throughout Diddy Dirty Money's recording process, rehearsals, and performances, Mr. Combs repeatedly ordered Miss Richard to strip down to her underwear. What? He frequently referred to her as a bee or a whore and made demanding remarks about her body, alt- alternatingly calling her lazy, fat, ugly, and how can she be fat and skinny? Lazy, fat, ugly, and skinny, particularly in front of his friends, producers, and bodyguards. And they stood there and witnessed this and allowed it. They are not men, they are cowards. Sean frequently held meetings with Don wearing only his underwear, despite Miss Richards' protests and repeated requests for him to put on clothing. In response, Mr. Combs called her a bee and a whore and reminded that she should be grateful for the opportunity to be there. Why would you be grateful for this? Is not an opportunity, y'all. Often, while they were recording in the studio, Sean would hold parties. And you know what they mean by parties, freak offs, where he would invite young men and women who were often scantily clad and appeared underage, the minors that we heard about, y'all, by his neighbor to use drugs and engage in sex acts. This is sickening, sickening, and just gruesome. Miss Richard observed Sean and his colleagues kissing, groping, and inappropriately touching the young. They were not young women. Call them what they were. They were underage minors. Stop calling them young women. Upon information and belief, the participants often left the immediate area to have sex and returned shortly thereafter, sick. On numerous occasions between approximately 2009 and 2011, under the guise of preparing for performances, Sean would introduce into Miss Richards' changing room. He would intrude into the changing room at Daddy's house unannounced while Miss Richard was undressed. Even though a female stylist was present and assisting Miss Richard with her wardrobe, Sean would grope Miss Richards' body, including her bare buttocks and her chest area near her breasts. With no legitimate purpose and without Miss Richards' consent, Sean caressed her buttocks to show the stylist where he wanted her high waisted panties positioned and attempted to touch her breasts, claiming to show the stylist where he wanted her bra straps to go. When Mr. Combs would enter the changing room, Dawn would cover her chest with her hands to prevent Mr. Combs from seeing or touching her breasts. When Sean would touch her body, Miss Richard would attempt to swat his hands away and state, "Don't touch me." Sean frequently smacked Miss Richards' bare buttocks and often commented on her body, noting that although she was too skinny, she had an ASS. So was Cassie too skinny? Was Kim Porter too skinny? Were all those models at the Diddy parties too skinny? Were those underage minor little girls too skinny? This doesn't make sense. He was basically body shaming her, making her feel bad because she's already naturally petite. And then he was basically making her forego meals. So she's losing weight and performing at the same time. The same thing happened to Christina Aguilera. Remember how small she used to be? Christina Aguilera has gained weight since then, but she was very frail, very thin, and she had the same complaint. I remember the girl from Destiny's Child that got kicked out of the group, Farrah, was also complaining about some of the same circumstances of performing and not being able to eat and rest. And Beyonce spoke out and said, some people just don't want to work. Remember that? Oh, yeah, it's a pattern going on here, y'all. In or around October 2010, Diddy Dirty Money performed in Glasgow, Scotland, where Sean engaged in overt sexual advances towards Dawn. On numerous occasions, when Dawn exited the dressing room fully styled, Combs looked at her approvingly and smacked her buttocks while making comments such as, "You're looking good. Okay, Don, okay." And I see what it is in a flirtatious tone. He's grooming her, y'all. Each time Miss Richard moved away and asked him not to touch her, Sean disregarded her protest. So he's going to have his. See, that's why he was doing all the other stuff, because he is trying to basically groom her into what he's about to do. When he was showing up to the meetings in his underwear, he knew exactly what he was doing. And he takes it a step further and further and further each time. On their last night in Glasgow, Dawn witnessed Sean and several other males gangbanging Sean's female assistant at the hotel pool. Miss Richard immediately left and went to her hotel room. This is crazy. Sounds like something very similar with academics. Y'all remember academics? Remember that whole lawsuit that he had going on with him and two friends at his house? And why would you invite a female to your house and then go upstairs and go to sleep knowing that you have two men there that she does not know? And they had their way with her. And there are video images of this. It's these people, all these people in the industry are sickening. On their flight back to the United States the next day, Miss Richard asked Sean where his assistant was. Miss Combs replied, "I don't give a F where that B is." Miss Richard later learned that Mr. Combs had taken his assistant's passport with him to the United States, leaving the assistant stranded in the United Kingdom. Oh my freaking goodness. Y'all remember Nature Boy? And now y'all remember Velvet? Y'all remember when they went out of the country and he took her passport so she couldn't leave? That's why when you get away, you stay away. If you know people are doing this, don't think they won't do it to you. In Glasgow, Miss Harper confided in Miss Richard that her husband and manager, Tony Vick, was abusive. After an especially severe assault, she confided in Miss Richard that she wanted to leave Mr. Vick, and Miss Richard helped her to plan her exit from the relationship. However, Miss Harper and Mr. Vick reconciled, and both Mr. Combs and Mr. Vick, who had a close relationship, learned of Don's role in helping Miss Harper. Both Mr. Combs and Mr. Vick became noticeably distrustful of Don, which exacerbated her fears of harm and reprisal. So, see, she cannot trust her partner here. This is her label mate. She can't trust that girl because she's already in an abusive relationship. So this is normalized to her. She already has low self-esteem. She's being a weakened victim and allowing her husband to abuse her. And then she's talking about, oh, now they reconcile. How did they learn that Don was trying to help her escape? Did she tell, or did he go through her phone? Like, how did they know this information? When Sean would require his Diddy Dirty Money bandmates to stay at his residence in Miami, Dawn would barricade herself inside a room at night, placing heavy furniture against the door because she feared being harmed in her sleep. In or around late December 2010, Dawn, Miss Harper, and Cassie were in Sean's Los Angeles home when Sean stated, "I want to gift you fake breasts for Christmas." Sean reached out and cupped Miss Richard's breast without her permission and stated, "You're an A, I'm thinking a D." Sean recoiled in shock and left the Dawn recoiled in shock and left the room. But look at Cassie and look at Kim Porter. They were small in their chest area. Throughout the above-mentioned time period, when Dawn resisted Sean's advances, Sean retaliated by denying her singing parts in songs, removing her from songs, refusing to allow her to sing in performances, and turning her microphone off during performances. The more Dawn rebuffed his advances, the more Sean's retaliatory behavior increased. So this kind of reminds me of, you remember the group Escape, and they said that Candy was messing with Jermaine Dupri, and she tried to deny it, but she actually was involved with him in an intimate relationship at the age of 14 years of age. He is also a producer And there are some suspicions surrounding his behavior in regards to Bow Wow and other celebrities in the industry and boys. She received more singing parts than Latasha Scott. And Latasha can sing. Actually, Latasha can sing better than Candy. Candy is the least vocal. The Put it this way, every one of her group members can out sing her. They can sing better than her. But she was the one giving the most vocal songs on the album. She was given the most parts on the albums to sing, and he tried to say it's because her voice stood out the most. Every man wants a woman. Every man wants a woman. She sings like in her nose, her nasal capacity. Every man wants a woman. When him and her can just go hang. Huh. Just the two of them alone. Kick back doing their own thing. That's exactly what she sounds like. And who else sings in their nasal capacities? Omarion. If you ever listen to him, he can't really sing like that either. And who else has interesting singing? Usher. If you listen to Looking for Myself, I think that's the name of that album. He sings in the same key the entire album. It's quite annoying, to be honest. This is not about talent. This is about what you're willing to endure to keep what you have and to get where you go. It's not about talent, y'all. We're changing places. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Trading places. Listen to the album and listen to the same key that he sings in the same pitch the whole entire album, the same note. It's ridiculous. Let's keep going, y'all. So, Mr. Combs assaults and falsely imprisons Miss Richard. In or around December 2010, Diddy Dirty Money was preparing for an upcoming performance on Saturday Night Live. As usual, rehearsals lasted for days without the opportunity to eat or rest, and the rehearsal schedule was unpredictable. After waiting all day for Mr. Combs to call or send a car, Miss Richard received a phone call from Mr. Combs demanding, "Where the F are you bees? The bees don't want this. Y'all don't deserve to have someone pick you up. Get a cab." Miss Richard and Miss Harper immediately took a taxi to Sir Studios at 520 West 25th Street, New York, New York, anxious because Mr. Combs sounded enraged. Upon their arrival at Sir Studios, Mr. Combs and Harvey Pierre was waiting for them in the lobby. Uh-oh, here he comes. Here comes that, yeah, the president of Bad Boy. Oh, yeah, he is a culprit too, and I hope they sue the F out of him as well. Mr. Combs screamed obscenities at them. "Where the F are you bees? You bees don't want to win. You don't want this. I'm so tired of y'all." Miss Richard noticed that people in the lobby were reacting to Mr. Combs' tirade. Embarrassed, Miss Richard asked Mr. Combs to stop swearing and calling them bees in front of everyone. Mr. Combs' facial expression shifted as he stepped towards Miss Richard, raised his arm, and swung his fist towards her face. Believing that Mr. Combs was going to hit her, Miss Richard braced for the impact. Before Mr. Combs could strike her, Mr. Combs' bodyguard grabbed her, escorted her out of the studio, and forced her into the Bad Boy Records Bentley that was parked outside. Miss Harper ran after Miss Richard, and Mr. Combs' bodyguard closed and locked the Bentley's door with both women inside. Inside the vehicle, Miss Richard realized there were no interior door handles and that they were locked inside with no way to escape. Why would they have a Bentley with no door handles? Because they are used to trafficking females and victims. Miss Richards' belongings were in the studio, but she was able to call her father from Miss Harper's cell phone. Miss Richard relayed to her father what had happened and that she needed help and feared that she would go missing. Moments later, Mr. Combs' bodyguard removed only Miss Harper from the Bentley, leaving Miss Richard locked in the car alone for over 2 hours. She should have been calling her daddy. She should have been on the phone letting her family know what was going on. Miss Richards screamed as loudly as she could, but no one responded. It was late evening in the winter time. The windows were heavily tinted and the interior of the car was dark, except for faint interior lights. Miss Richards' belongings and winter coat were in the studio while the ignition was off and there was no heat. With Mr. Combs' prior threats and violence running through her mind, Miss Richard felt sheer panic, terror, and feelings of claustrophobia at being locked in a small, dark, enclosed space with no way to communicate or call for help. She began to feel cold and feared for her life, not knowing when or if she would be released. This is why you do not give up your phones at a Hollywood party, y'all. Miss Richards' father drove to New York from Baltimore and arrived at the studio approximately 2 hours later. Only after her father arrived and demanded to see her did Mr. Pierre order Mr. Combs' bodyguard to release Miss Richards from the vehicle. Mr. Pierre ushered Miss Richards' father between several rooms at Sir Studios, where he waited for approximately 2 hours before being able to confront Mr. Combs. Once Miss Richards' father expressed that he intended to contact police, Mr. Combs warned him to think about your family and think about your daughter's career. Her father appeared visibly frightened by Mr. Combs' threats and actions, which in turn made Miss Richards feel terrified for herself and her family's safety. The next night, Diddy Dirty Money performed on SNL. Mr. Combs subsequently called Miss Richard, complimented her performance, and concluded with a threat. You don't call your dad unless you're in the hospital. So her daddy allowed her to go back around this man and perform for SNL because of her career. Who's protecting these melanated females, y'all? Nobody. The, this is sickening. And this also reminds me of something else when Misha, the other victim, came out and she was saying how they had her locked up in rooms. Adria English, I think she was locked up in rooms as well. Yeah, very similar circumstances, y'all. And also, Misha said that when she was young and they had first abducted her, she heard an Asian man complaining to Sean Diddy Combs about, you did this to my son. You did this. I'm going to contact the police. And Sean said, I don't give a F about the police. Contact the police, and basically threatened the man. Said the man seemed very scared and fearful. I'm going to end this live stream here. And we will probably revisit this later, okay? Because now we're getting into the unjust enrichment of defendants by breach of contract and or copyright infringement. So in case you don't know who Don Richards is, here she is here. Here she is seen featured on the stage with Puff Daddy, performing alongside him. Very sickening, y'all. Very sickening. Mm, 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 mm. This is her IG page. Oh, shoot, I'm not signed in. Um, This is Danity Kane. It was 5 of them. Their group has broken up, of course. We already know that. I'm just clicking out of some of this stuff, y'all. We'll come back to this later. So these people were complicit, all right? Look at people that you see him taking pictures with. I think he's taking a picture with Aubrey O'Day back in the day. There's Cassie. Look at this. Everybody's smiling, aren't they? Is that Russell Simmons? He left the country because he knew that there were sexual misconduct claims coming out about Russell Simmons as well. And believe me, Kamora Lee Simmons knew about it. They know. Don't think that these women are innocent, y'all. Kamora Lee has been complicit in these things as well. Yeah, it's sick. Look at all the faces of the people that were involved. It was not just Puff Daddy. All right. So we have to be very clear on that. All right, y'all. Let's look more about at this Diddy party.
Come on, areola in. Let's get it popping over here. Areola in, ladies. Yeah, let's get it tucked in. This is where the party's at, right here. This is where it is. Right now, I just want to say before I look at you crazy, I love Jesus. I don't know what that allows me to do, but hey, you see what we're doing right now. DJ, stop the music. Yeah. DJ, stop the music.
They're doing a lot of cuts in and out because he's saying some inappropriate things on camera. Also, too, he said, I love Jesus. So he's making a mockery saying, oh, I love Jesus. I don't know what that allows me to do. They really participate in satanic worship and ritualistic practices. This is how they're able to get where they are. And that's what Cat Williams was talking about in his club, infamous Shay Shay's interview that had over 82 million views thus far, y'all. Breaking the internet. That's what they like to say.
If your name ain't Sean Combs, you gotta take your hat off. If your name ain't Sean Combs, no hat. You gotta take your hat off. It's a little bit disrespectful to be in my house with your hat on, okay? All y'all niggas that here with these hot ass scutties on. Hey, yo, for real. How they can't get the house on. Hold on, where my son at? The light can do with the good hair.
All right, so this is not his real biological son. This is, I think, Justin, and this is Misa Hilton's son. Now, if you don't know who Misa Hilton is, she did some of the fashion wear for Lil Kim's Crush on You video, and she was able to style certain artists for videos. She styled Mary J. Blige in some of her videos back in the day because she had connections with Sean Combs, I believe. This is her son that she had with one of Sean's friends, Wolf. If you look at Wolf and you look at him, they look very much the same. This is not his son, but he claims him as his son.
Shouts out to Diddy's sons who look nothing.
Quincy, we already know Albie Shore is his father.
Question. What's going on?
That's why he said he doesn't look anything like him, because these are not his sons.
Oh, come on, man. Come on, dude. See that shit? Come on, man. See, that's what I like. See, because as sons, people understand, man. You know, yeah, you guys may have different life, but at the same time, give it up for my sons. They know how to articulate themselves. Thank you.
You see how he snatched the microphone from him? Kevin Hart took it a little too far. Look, listen.
As sons, people understand, man. You know, yeah, you guys may have different life, but at the same time, give it up for my sons. They allow me to do that. But hey, you see, you gotta take your hat off. Your name ain't you can't get the big hats on. Hold on, where my son at? The light skin dude with the good hair. That's just shout out to Lil Diddy 1 and 2. Yeah. Shouts out to Diddy's sons who look nothing like him. It's still in question. We don't really know what's going on. Oh, come on, man. Come on, dude. Nobody want to see that shit. Come on, man. That's what I like. See, because as sons, people understand, man. You know, yeah, you guys may have different life, but at the same time, give it up for my sons. They know how to articulate themselves. Thank you very much. You know, we got a lot of stars in the building right now. First and foremost, myself.
Is that... Wait a minute now. Is that Fabulous in the background? Why you never party with me? Why you never party with me? Huh? What you mean? We just partied. Why, you know what I mean. Why you never party with me?
Is that?
Yeah, you gotta party with me.
Real quick, before we get to questions, shout out to my nigga Pierre, me Racer on his Timbs. Hey, bro, look, real quick. I want to ask you. Hey, yo, for real, if you hit me that hard again, listen, dude, listen. Okay, first of all, get your body together, work out. Hey, listen. Wow. Trey Songz. Wow. Who's here somewhere? I'm right here, Puff. Look, real quick. I want to ask you. Hey, yo, for real, if you hit me that hard again, listen, dude, listen. Okay, first of all, get your body together, work out.
He's trying to make it a joke, but Puffy's really serious about what he just said.
Listen, Trey Songz. Wow. Who's here somewhere? I'm right here, Puff. He's here? Where's he? Yeah. Come on in. It's Trey Songz, y'all. Make some noise for Trey Songz in the building, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, if you pay attention to Trey, he has been alleged to be involved in some gay activities as well. This came out years ago about him. I found out about it back in like 2017, 2018, 2016, around that time frame. Also, it seems like he's kind of lost his head as well. Tempers, and a lot of these people are haunted by what they've done or what has been done to them. This is why you see them on drugs and acting erratic. He has a very bad temper, y'all.
Straight from the dog.
Also, claims of sexual assault against him as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I should say Diddy on it. Hey, shouts out to nigga Trey in the building, whatever. Heard you just came from the garden. Great. Yeah, it's good. Sold out show. Whatever. Yeah, it was cool. That's great. But we here to talk about last train to Paris. Trey. Let's talk about last Paris real quick, Trey. Like that. Give me this. All right. Okay, yeah, take this one. Oh, check. Okay, there it is. All right, Trey, you got a track on the album. Yes, I heard the track. I can say I'm a fan of the track. It was a very positive track. You did your thing on it. How? My shit was positive. I mean, you got a loss for words. Why don't you do it? No, very educational track. How? Be honest with you, man. And the studio, work with Puff is. Oh, so when you stop with fix the mic, dude. Yeah. See. Get it done. Yeah. Send it to me. No, that's big. Yeah, shut up, shorty. Take this. Is this one gonna work? All right, check. Okay. All right. Yo, stop giving me different microphones. Boss, I'm serious. This is getting weird. All right, look, Trey, on top of that. Okay, hey, yo. We need to pass some Ciroc out over there. I see y'all over there. DJ Clue, we want to thank you for being one of our first supporters, man. We're gonna turn it up. This is my joint. Check.
Now, watch this girl right here. Her hair is going to catch on fire, y'all.
Check. What's going on? It's official. We're here. Dirty Money album release party. Last train to Paris. It's crazy. I decided to switch scenes. Got too hectic down there. I'm up here in the hot tub, doing it official. You know what I'm saying? My nigga Trey's up here. My nigga Fab's up here. When you have a scene like this, you got to bring bosses with you. As you see, it's female friendly. We got a ladies and female. She's butt ball. That's what I call it. Raw dog. I'm not jumping the tub myself. Once everybody meets that, just me and the lady. This is my thing. Doing what I do best. Shit. Here, it's still a dirty money.
Now, you notice how they tried to pan the camera away after her hair caught on fire, right? Spirits. Demonic, satanic spirits, y'all.
She's butt ball. That's what I call it. Raw dog. I'm not jumping the tub myself. Once everybody meets that, just me and the lady. This is my thing. Doing what I do best. Shit.
Then again, because she had all that hair weave, that stuff is flammable. This is why women shouldn't be putting all this fake synthetic chemicals in on their head. Your hair can catch on fire. Same thing happened to Michael Jackson at the Pepsi commercial. They said he had to have grafts done on his scalp.
Here, it's still a dirty money. Last train to Paris release party. We had technical difficulties last time, but I'm gonna tell you something. When you with troopers, we act as troopers and we fix situations. We're up here, everybody's safe. No, this one's here. We had Trigger Trey on the scene. Honestly, second degree black belt in first aid. Right now, also my man Terrence, BT 106 Park, he's in the building. Shouts out to Terrence. for a very small waistline on his pants. Listen, we're really right now. Listen, what we're doing is unbelievable. Listen. What we're doing is unbelievable up here. Uh, we're, no, listen, it's all love here, okay? I'm tipsy. Everybody's tipsy. Get in the tub, sweetie. Be careful. If you fall, that's a lot that's gonna go down. Sit your ass in the tub. Trey, if you can't put it in the knot. If you can't, Trey, can you put it in the knot? Just put it in the knot. If you can, put it here in the knot. If you can. Just for safety. We had a fire. We had a fire here not too long ago. As you can see, Fab is still shell shocked. He's still fucked up. No. Let's do it reaction. Okay, I was in the middle. Here, just for you guys to understand what just happened. So I'm in the middle. Okay, Trey, can you get this? Can somebody turn the mic on for Trey? We need a mic on for Trey. Is the mic on for Trey? Okay. It was quick. Fab was chilling over there. I recall, Fab, you had just got your drink. You were drinking your drink. We're doing a reenactment. I still haven't got mine. I still haven't. No, we're doing a reenactment. Okay, look, we're showing the people what just happened. Okay, hold on. Listen, you got that. It was right before the whole season. Yes. He asked for two of them. Where's yours at? Oh, there you go. Trey, yours is right there, man. I was about to be upset. Hey, well, maybe that's enough. Okay. So look, listen, we're in the bathroom. We're having a good time. Everybody's chilling. I'm giving an interview. I say, hey, listen, it's real big. I say, it's real big. It's a movement. I hear Fab go. No, it wasn't Fab. It was Trey. No, Trey, you on this side. That's what fucked me up. No, I was right here. That's what I'm saying. You were right here. No, maybe that's enough for your ass. No, so I was like this. What, I heard Trey say. The camera was going. I was trying to have my shit together, my sexy shit. Okay. So I was like, that is how he looks. That is definitely how he looks. Oh, shit. Her hair's burned. I'm still giving an interview. So this is how bosses do it. I hear Fab go. Oh, shit. Oh, shit is on fire. I didn't register the information yet. I said, and our shit is fire. Because this is what we do. I turn around to see a full-fledged flame go out. Before anyone can act, Trey tried to. What did you try to do? Did you try to get in there, Trey? I don't really remember. You that part. Did it. I think she went. She went under. Baby,
I see they put those candles out behind her. It's less candle burning going on. You notice that?
Just dip out one time so they could just see what you. Yeah. The water was deeper though. Came up, flame was gone. At that time, I was in panic. I had asthma. It was a difficult situation. I ran by then. Fab was out. He was going. Trey started to sing his first single. Why he went in the full-fledged song, we don't know. Puff came up and started dancing and started saying "Last Train to Paris." It was definitely cool. We turned it into a movement. That's basically. Can we get a shot of Terrence's pants? Get a shot. Look at his pants. Shot of his pants. I've never seen anything like that. It's a very small waistline. Jesus Christ.
Terrence is so annoying to me. And the only reason that I think he got a spot on 106 in Park is because of what he probably went through to get on that show.
Okay. As you can see, situation to handle, everything's fine. Last Train to Paris. Shouts out to my man Fab. Shouts out to Trey. My man Clues in the building as well. Kevin Harve here. It's a movement. Go downstairs. I'll check back with you guys in a second. Right now. Go downstairs. Hey. Yo, y'all want to say how official the party is. I'm on the ones and twos right now. It's Dirty Money. Last Train to Paris. We're about to take this picture to the second level, okay? That's me. They get the camera on my fucking hand. I'm
All right, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and close it out right here. And we'll be back on maybe later today to do part two to this. And I also want to get into Misha, the other witness, Adria English. We're going to be speaking about Natanya Rubin as well. All right, you all. I hope you have enjoyed this episode of Brown Girls Are Beautiful covering the Sean Diddy documents. This is the lawsuit of plaintiff Dawn Angelique Richard against Sean Diddy Combs, Harvey Pierre, and Janice Combs. All right, and a host of other companies. I will talk to you all later. You out there, stay blessed, take care of yourself, and continue to always, always, always walk in your divinity, y'all. Don't ever let anybody think they can take advantage of you. All right? It's just not worth it.